I have this little idea that's probably gonna shock many of you guys. Did you know that if you're gonna try to see what percentage of the population is LGBTQ, you probably shouldn't do so at a gay bar? Yeah, this is the Gay Bar Theorem. So here goes the thought experiment. You want to know what percentage of the population is LGBTQ. So, of course, that's not exactly an easy task. You're not going to go to every single person and ask them. And besides, there's one little extra thing that's going to make it just asking random people their sexuality extremely complicated, which is that not everyone wants to talk about their sexuality all the time. So, depending on when and where you ask people about their sexuality, they might not be so open to sharing the full details. In fact, we have this very interesting statistical phenomena where lots of people will admit to have had sexual feelings for the same sex, but they still consider themselves straight because whatever sexuality you consider yourself to be, that's pretty arbitrary. However, there's something that's not quite arbitrary, and that is that gay bars tend to hold more LGBTQ people. The reason for that isn't because gay bars are exclusively LGBTQ clubs. In fact, there's this thing around gay bars in which sometimes they slowly become these alternative bars because more and more straight people start coming in, maybe because LGBT people, they often also have straight friends, and sometimes straight people just want to hang out someplace. And then there are, a bar may be gay, but that doesn't say anything about LGBTQ folk, which includes Q and B. So straight romance does go around the gay bar. What a gay bar doesn't have, however, is the average percentage of straight to gay people. And this is why if someone went to a gay bar and tried to say, okay, whatever percentage of LGBTQ folk I find here, that's the percentage of LGBT folk in the overall population. That would be absurdly silly because that's where most gay people are. This isn't a representative sample. A gay bar is not a representative sample. And that's something I wanted to get that you get a really deep understanding. Why can you just go to a gay bar to discover how many people are gay in a city, in a country, in a whatever? Well, gay bars are not representative samples. And why do I think this is an interesting theorem? That's because most samples are not representative. In mathematics, we have something called the law of large numbers. So, for instance, if a sample grows closer and closer and closer to the total sum, the entire population, it's going to become more and more accurate. So, this says that, for instance, the census has a tendency to become more accurate. Or to because although you still have problems such as, like I said earlier, not everybody is into sharing their sexuality, especially not if you ask them in front of their parents, which the census does do. The census asks lots and lots and lots of people. So the amount of people in the overall population and the amount of people that are asked questions in the census, those numbers are pretty closely related. This means that the results in census tend to be more accurate. The Gay Bar Theorem, which is something I came up with, simply states that most samples are not representative. You see, most people, they tend to congregate with people that are close to themselves. This may be your friend group because we like being friends with people we're close to. This can just be your family. Like, your family not only raised you, they have a genetic basis for being just like you. And when we go out to places where people like us like to go out. We just have this natural tendency of gathering close to people that are close to us. And that's the nail in the coffin. Most people are like these walking gay bars. You are not a representative sample. Your friends are not representative samples. What you most likely are is these gay bars filled with people that really you wouldn't exactly easily find if you had just walked around the hallway in a school. That's a pretty neutral environment. But you're like a club. There's guys that do sports, there are guys that go to the library, there's the uh, Glee Club guys. I have no idea. The important thing is that finding the represent sample is hard. It probably takes a lot of people. But when you look into smaller and smaller and smaller groups, you're not likely to be in a representative sample. You're in a gay club. So let's do this fairly simple mathematical example that's not too mathematically precise, but it's probably mathematically precise enough to bore some people. Let's imagine this set. It's got numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the entire set. 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The average, the sum of the set of numbers is 15, and the average of this set of numbers is 3. So, according to the law of large numbers, if you were to sum 4 of these 5 numbers, you're probably gonna get an average that's closer to 3. However, there's actually, you don't need to sum all of those numbers, and in fact, if you only sum 4, you're never going to get the exact average 3. However, if we're to gather the random numbers 2 and 4, or 5 and 1, you would get the same average 3. You'd have only searched 2 of the subjects. So this is what statisticians, guys, not exactly from the census, but usually the same places that conduct census, they're trying to do this sort of exams. They're trying to find the representative sets that you can just grab these 2 and you can expand out the conclusions for the whole set. But you can see that out of all of 2 and 4 or 5 and 1, and I'm not sure which other number you get the average 3. There are a ton of other numbers that not of a set of numbers that don't get the average 3, just as the larger set of numbers. This is the whole key to the Gay Bar Theorem. Most of us wear gay bars, just like most sets. They're not representative. So it's got some mathematical backing, I guess. But it's mostly just this thought experiment for you to realize, look around you. People, they're not just like your closest friend and family. But it doesn't mean, of course, that you should exclude gay bars. There's actually some perfect set for everything. In fact, it's often very difficult to discovered this have little, oh yeah, representative samples, and it may often be difficult to verify that these samples are indeed representative. So you also can't forget sort of look into gay bars. Try to find like what size are the gay bars in a city, how many people tend to frequent them, what percentage of those gay bars tend to be really frequented primarily by the LGBTQ community, and what percent of those gay bars might be becoming just alternative bars and having a more diverse flux of people. Try to realize what all these different groups try to do. So like you may make a bunch of smaller groups, and then you can count the average of those groups, whose set is probably fairly so within themselves. Um, you probably can go to a gay bar and ask what percentage of people are LGBT, and you can find a representative sample of how many people in gay bars are LGBTQ. We humans were pretty flawed on this. I guess the main thing is like politics, uh, data about who's gonna be the president. I remember in 2018 presidential election in Brazil, my uncle, he was just mad. There were probably like some shenanigans going on because former president Dilma Rousseff, she was leading the polls, but he personally didn't know anyone that wanted to vote for her. Of course, he's a business owner and his quite right wing. While the ex president, she was a left winger. You know, people that are left wing, they tend to not even speak politics with my uncle. Yet, nonetheless, he did expect for him to just know close people and to be able to sort of like match the overall reality, the overall perception of these flawed posts, and and his internal reality of his friend group and family, where indeed very few people wanted to vote for Dilma. And the overall result of that election was that there was an upset during the final weeks. And Dilma ended up going to third place when she only needed second place to win the Senate race. Um, and does this mean that my uncle was right? Well, probably not. Although the same factors that made like nobody in his life want to vote for Dilma, they did affect why she didn't win the Senate. Because at the end of the day, lots of people they tried voting exclusively to get Dilma out of the Senate race instead of necessarily just finding the perfect candidate. And so this did change a lot of the voting intentions before the end of the election. But this doesn't mean that my uncle saw something that was hidden. He was still in a gay bar. And this is why I believe that the Gay Bar Theorem is so important. We are all in gay bars, and we gotta notice when our personal experience is not a representative sample. My name is Otavio Bob. Thank you for listening.